Take a trip with us to Nilbog. Just promise not to drink the goo.
Oh my God!
If you get sucked into the Matrix, we will sing the phone for you.
Do you believe in fate?
But every movie has a plot hole, and every hole gets filled somehow. Whiskey, wine, or blue milk. Just don't cut me off right now. We're the Plotaholics, a breakfast club of two. We're the Plotaholics, ripping plots apart for you.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right, well, here we go again. Welcome to another episode of the Plotaholics podcast. I'm Shane Wilson, and I'm joined, as always, by Brian Tan. Brian, how are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad at all. How are you doing this fine day?
I'm okay. Got a run in this morning.
Nice.
We're trying to get after it here on a Tuesday.
No, I hear you. I just ordered compression sleeves for my ankles because a couple of months ago I was took the dog for a walk, and I started to jog and I was doing great, and then my ankles started rolling. So now I want the compression sleeves to see if I can actually, do a jog and complete a jog.
I got you.
So, because I definitely want to start adding jogging into my routine.
I mean, I think that a jog is like just some of the best workout. Like it's the best. I feel like it's the best cardio. That's me, but
yeah,
it's hard.
Well, I seem to be a little bit more on the side of the DDP yoga for cardiovascular exercise, but to each their.
Yeah.
But it's also a different method of cardio.
Absolutely. Like I've tried a lot of things over the years, and I always come back to the run. And I think that I think the biggest difference between like using sort of like a guided program, like DDP yoga, and just like going for a run is I don't necessarily want to like hear a bunch of voices telling me what to do. Go out and run. Like that's I think the most positive aspect of the run is that you can throw on shoes and just go outside and get it done.
Yeah, you get out there and then you get into your own head or whatever you're listening to and blah blah blah. Like, and I hear what you're saying. I know for me, I'm at a spot now where when I do DDP yoga on my own, most of the time I'm not even doing like work. I'm doing my own workout.
Right. Exactly.
As an instructor, I know how to run my own workout, so that's what I'm doing. So, but no, I mean, I totally get it, and I'm hoping.
But you and I both know also that like you're always at your best shape when you mix it up. When you do
exactly when you shock your system, your body really does tend to respond. So, yesterday I got a pallet of wood pellets coming in. That was almost a 1,200 calorie excursion.
Just like moving those around.
Yeah, well, so what they do, and shout out to the one dude at Home Depot, because they got to bring those suckers on a flatbed, right? And I live on a hill, right? And it's not the widest street, so this guy just pulled over on the main road that's like a block down, got his little pallet moving apparatus, as they say, and just drove it up the hill, put it up on the flat end of the driveway. It was like, see you later. Thanks. Yeah. So,
this week we continue looking at some of the bigger films from last year, or more notable films, maybe is a better way to say that, because today's entry I don't think made a ton of waves culturally or in the box office.
Yeah, 2022's Nope by the man, the myth, the legend, the budding man, myth, and legend himself, Jordan Peele. I almost called him Keegan Peele. I don't know why. Because I mix those two up like so often because Key and Peele are so synonymous with each other.
Right. Well,
it's so hard.
Keegan Michael Key.
Yeah.
And Jordan Peele, like it just makes sense to say like his name is Key Key and Peele.
Right, exactly. But yeah, this film, it did not get as much sort of attention as Get Out or Us did.
Well, and his films have been getting gradually less, right? Because Us, I don't think got the attention that Get Out got.
I still haven't watched Us.
Well, and I think that Get Out got so much attention
because of the Armitage family and our homeboy Bradley Whitford.
But I also think that it got a lot of attention because no one expected the comedian Jordan Peele to come to like leave Key and Peele and Comedy Central and make horror films.
Right.
Much the same way that A Quiet Place got a lot of attention initially.
John Krasinski
for the same reason.
Yeah, well, I think also the subject matter.
Right, exactly. And then whenever you do give it a chance, you're surprised at how good it actually ended up being for the genre because you didn't expect it.
Right. And I think that Jordan Peele I think that he is a far more talented in the way of coming up with things that are different than what we're used to. He's a than of like an M. Night Shyamalan because he seems to have this stuff that's really mind trippy.
You say he's better at it than Shyamalan.
In some ways, like they're each talented in their own right. I think
I'm really glad that you brought Shyamalan up because I couldn't help but think
this reminded me of Shyamalan
during this movie as well.
Yeah, this reminded me. This is like Jordan Peele's Signs, right?
Yeah, and to me, I think Signs is a better movie than this.
Okay, I you know what? I don't fully disagree because I'm not gonna lie. I came in. Well, you know, let's throw the synopsis in there before we start hitting it. So, a horse ranching family among basically Hollywood royalty suffers a loss of their patriarch when a sudden death by nickel occurs. Passed off as a freak plane accident, siblings M and OJ discover that something far more extraterrestrial is amiss. And I'll tell you what, man, this film, number one, it's not scary. It's not. It's not even close. This is more sci-fi mystery.
Us is probably his most traditional horror film. Get Out is a horror film too, but it's like
a social horror. It's social horror. This is a science fiction.
Yeah, it's like more along the lines of like a thriller of some sort.
Yeah, this is a sci-fi thriller, but the problem with this film is that it rests. There's too many genres interlapping. There's way too many genres because you get the feeling of a thriller, but then you get the feeling of a mystery. You got the science fiction, which is the bigger aspect. The horror, I think, comes from more of a side character. And it's really a mashup. And so,
it felt like several sort of so out of the gate, I will say I'm a little disappointed.
I was not as into this as I thought I was going to be.
Right.
I really wasn't.
I think it's good. I think it's
not a bad movie, but this isn't the type of movie like
I'm struggling with it because it feels like a underbaked idea.
Yeah.
Or several of them sort of like thrown in the pot together to make a stew.
Yeah. No, like I said, I still haven't watched Us.
Us is good. Us is better than this, I think.
Well, here's the thing. The problem, I think, with Jordan Peele is that the success of Get Out coupled with the expectation. If this were his first movie, this would have been like, all right, this is pretty cool. If those movies would have come out, if Nope would have been first, and then you got Us, and then Get Out.
Yeah.
This movie would be a lot better.
Yeah, but instead, it is very reminiscent of what happens with Shyamalan, right?
Yeah.
He comes out swinging and then starts to peter out, right? And I worry a little bit about our boy Jordan Peele here, because like this is not an overly terrible idea. Like the concept is cool, right? Because whenever you start thinking about like UFO sightings and everything, people always say, I've never seen anything that moves like that before. It moved too fast, yada, 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 right?
Right.
So what he does here, and the hardcore spoiler alert, yada, yada, whatever, right? Like we're getting into it. Like he really like that we come to the realization that this is not a UFO in the traditional sense of a spaceship. Instead, this is a living thing, an organic thing, right?
Right. It's
an animal.
Now that was interesting, but
that's subversion, right? That's subverting the trope.
Right. But you've also now is Jordan Peele trying to set up his own kaiju universe now?
Right. And so, like, the more I think about it, and this is maybe I looked at Rotten Tomatoes and it said this is a better movie to talk about than to watch. And I think
can agree with
probably true, because when I think back on it, I'm like, he gave us all the pieces, and maybe I wanted him to give us a little bit more of the connection points than he did. But that's me, right? Like he doesn't take the shortcuts that a Shyamalan would have taken at the end of the film to like draw out all the connections that we needed, right? Because the film opens with this audio from a television show where a chimpanzee goes crazy and murders a bunch of people, right?
Now that was interesting.
He's triggered by the sounds of the balloons popping, right?
Right.
Then you get all of this stuff about horse training, and like this family, like they're the horse trainers that supply Hollywood movies and Westerns with their horses and all of this, right? So you have people that are really in tune to animals and how to train them. And there's a lot of like work done early on to demonstrate like every animal has its rules. You have to learn the rules to like enter into a contract, an agreement with this animal that they're going to be cool and you're going to be cool with them, right? And as long as you don't like break that contract, then you're usually okay. So like they do all of the groundwork for that, and then they have the reveal that this UFO thing is an actual animal, right?
Right.
And so all of that stuff sets up, and those are the connections, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It just like the end, and then the ending of it, whenever this thing like unfurls into this huge, like it's this like gorgeously cinematic like specter, you know what I mean? Like it's the end of this thing is beautiful. But when I came away from it, I didn't come away from it with the same feeling that I got at the end of Get Out or Us.
I think the problem is that, well, at least for me, I sort of rolled my eyes. I'm like, really? A giant balloon? A giant balloon wins. I guess on one end I can look at it as, well, you know, pollution and the pollution and the crap that we throw in the air destroys things.
Right, but like also it's just an animal, right? Like it eats what makes eye contact with it.
Right. No, like that's true. That's true.
An animal, right? Like it's using its instincts against it, right? That whole thing didn't really bother me as much. I thought like, and maybe I missed it, but I really thought where we were headed, right? And I was waiting for the Jordan Peele like social commentary moment.
Right.
So here's how I thought the ending was going to go whenever we got there, finally, right?
Okay.
So we got the cinematographer that they brought in to like film it, right? And he sacrificed himself to go up in this thing to get the great shot, right?
Right. I love Michael Wincott, by the way.
For sure.
His voice he is so great. Like his voice alone just makes a presence. I think that the creepiest this movie felt was when he was on screen, and it's just because the way he delivered dialogue. For sure. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. So, okay. So the whole thing is when they first see this UFO out there, Keke Palmer is like, yo, like we've got to get a picture of this. We will be set, right? We'll be able to sell this for so much money. We'll be in good shape, right? And so all of their goal this entire time is to get that shot to make that money, right?
Yeah, because they're going to go on Oprah.
Right, exactly.
Oprah's been off air for a while.
So then they work, and we watch these people of color work so hard throughout this entire movie to get this one shot. And then at the end of it, I expected the thing, whenever it blew up, to drop his camera somewhere and just some random white dude pick it up and get like wealthy off of it, as opposed like
that's what I was
punch, right?
Right.
Like, that whole like they work so hard and then this dude just like makes all the money, right?
Yeah, that's what I was expecting with the TMZ guy with his little stupid ass
now that shit
electric
made me laugh a
bike.
lot. I appreciated that.
I really did too. I thought that was funny. I thought it was fun. But the one thing that I really appreciate, because you notice you've got number one, and I'm not saying that they don't exist. I know for a fact they do, because among the first cowboys in the West were black. Right. Absolutely. But I'm terrified of horses. So to see black folks wrangle and train horses is like, for me, because I'm terrified.
I love fucking Daniel Kaluuya as a cowboy is like one of my favorite things I think I've seen.
I want to see. Right? I seriously want either a reimagining of Mario Van Peebles' Posse with Daniel Kaluuya as Jesse Lee, or I want an all new black centric Western with Daniel Kaluuya in it, because
he was great.
He is so,
and he looked very convincing on a horse.
He is so amazing. Like he is such a better actor than he's given credit for. I mean, I remember going back to watch Black Panther. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, maybe Daniel Kaluuya isn't that good of an actor. No, it's the fact that he had to play third fiddle to Chadwick Boseman and Michael B. Jordan, but he wasn't even playing third fiddle. He was a supporting character, and he was so good that he was making them even better. But he is, and I think that is a powerful mark of a leading man, to be a great supporting character.
We are big fans here on.
We are huge Daniel Kaluuya fans here.
He's very good.
But I really love how reserved he is. He plays reserved very well. I would love to see him play a character that is more extroverted next, not animated like Ace Ventura or anything that Will Ferrell does, but just more extroverted. You know what I mean?
Right. I appreciate the calm,
the quiet cool.
In this film especially, I appreciate his calm.
He's got the quiet cool.
Yeah. I like that.
But so you see Daniel Kaluuya, you see Keke Palmer, whose character is not very likable to me. Like every time she's on screen, I'm rolling my eyes in annoyance. Like I am OJ getting annoyed with her the whole time.
Sure. Now, but I do like her.
I love Keke Palmer. I have been a big fan of Keke Palmer since she was a child actress, and she's one of the success stories of a child actress making that transition from child actor to actor.
Right.
Love her to death. And then the guy who played Angel, who becomes their Brandon Perea, who becomes their wheelman, their third guy.
Chair, right?
He is so good. And this is the first thing I've seen him in.
Yeah, agreed. I was way into this guy. He really
I was so glad he got to become part of the crew.
I know. I was like, this dude just wants to be a part of it, guys. Like, just let him be a part of it.
Yeah, and the thing is, it wasn't even so much that they allowed it. It was just based on him.
Yeah.
That he's a part of this now. And so you've got these three people of color that are really busting their ass, and then they allow Antlers to be a part of it.
Right. And it's because of like they respect his like expertise.
Right.
And I love when he had his camera out winding it up, and they were like, I told you he was gonna bring a non-electrical camera.
Yeah, because it was just because he got it. But I love the fact that he at first didn't want to be involved.
Yeah.
And then they went to him last time, and they let him come in.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is like they reached out to him. He wasn't really interested. And then this huge event happens at the like tourist attraction where a bunch of people, like 40 people, disappear. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, all right, so there is something going on out there.
Right.
You know, there are moments the more I talk about it, the more maybe I did like it. Because
you know what? We are having a huge reversal of Rise of Skywalker, I think.
Yeah, because like there are things that I love the idea that like that Brandon Pereira's character, what's his name again?
Angel.
When Angel calls him and he's like, that cloud hasn't moved in like 4 days. Like,
right. He's on it. Yeah, even though they're telling him we don't want you involved, he's invested.
Yeah, I love the idea that the cloud didn't move. They was like hiding in the cloud, like a predator would, right? Like hiding up
Hiding in
there.
plain sight.
And that one night it's very dark, but when OJ is out, he has to chase the horse down, and
Yeah,
he's
he
out
has
there
to
and he
chase
can
down.
see it like moving in the clouds up there. Like that shit, that is actually pretty scary.
It is, because it's high up, and I think
Big.
nature horror is terrifying because
Right.
there is nothing you can do.
It's that old Family Guy bit, right? Damn nature, you scary.
It really is. It really is. And I think that if aliens were going to attack us, the best way to do it is to attack in plain sight.
Yeah.
You know, and you're right. The more I think about this film, and maybe that's the problem, is that this film doesn't have enough of,
Yeah,
you've got to,
it's a grower.
it grows on you. And
Yeah.
I would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about Steven Yeun, Steven Yeun, who in a lot of ways, and don't take what I'm about to say the wrong way or as a slight to anyone else, but Steven Yeun is the most famous character in this cast from You See Him. Because like Daniel Kaluuya, we know who he is based on Get Out, but right. I guarantee you there's people who can't say his name. It's Daniel or that's that guy that's the Get Out guy.
Right.
But Steven Yeun, who was a lead character in a cultural icon of a TV show of The Walking Dead, you know, we know this guy. And when we see him, it takes us to Glenn. You know what I mean? So when I say most famous I'm talking about like the broad general audience. He is the most secondary character that you can get. Because his story doesn't even have all that much to do with the main story. It's just, here's this child actor who's dealing with the trauma of watching a chimpanzee kill everyone around him, but him.
Yeah.
He shared a moment with that chimpanzee before it got its head blown off.
Yeah, and he's the prologue of this whole thing, right? Which is like a detached piece of story that's relevant. It's almost like a parable, right? Like right. He shared everything he needed to know about dealing with animals from that experience.
Right.
And
the only reason why he's important is because, and they basically give us the idea that it's because of his little festival, whatever, that this predator is attracted.
Yeah, he's only important because of proximity, right? He's
right.
If he didn't also live in the valley, he probably wouldn't matter.
Right. And I'll tell you what
thing is hunting in this valley, right? Like that's the thing that we come to learn, and that OJ sort of realizes is that this creature thinks that this is its home, and like it's being territorial, and it's preying on things, right?
Right.
Now the night that it is hunting them, and they're like in the truck and in the house, and it's just like sitting over the house waiting on them to come outside, and it's raining and all, like so visually compelling.
So good.
Like,
so good.
That, maybe I do like this movie.
I think I do, because I think I do too. I came into this, I'm not even gonna lie, I came into this wanting to give it maybe a 3-shot rating and something that I'm never gonna watch again. But I think my rating has changed. And I'll tell you what, the one thing that I truly appreciate as well, though, is even though Steven Yeun's character Jupe doesn't have a lot to do with the story, he still moves the story from our second act into the third act.
Right.
And, we find out that Jupe has been keeping the family ranch afloat by buying the horses. And, not just that, but because he's also, once again, the reason why this thing is here.
Yeah.
And then because of this, it's not even so much huge, because when he starts to have the show, it's not that many people there, but it's a smorgasbord for our jean jacket, which is what they named the alien, jean jacket. And yeah, it comes down and it takes everything.
So now the jean jacket thing I love. All right. Because early in the film, we find out that when Keke Palmer's character, and she is
Emerald. Yep.
When Em was a kid, they had this horse named Jean Jacket that was going to be her horse. She was going to train it, and she was super pumped about it. And then their dad took it from her because they got contracted for the Scorpion King, which is also hilarious.
Yeah, and it was like, and then it turned out they ended up just using camels any damn way.
At the end of it, OJ says, well, we're going to name this thing Jean Jacket. And she's the one that brings it down. She's the one that tames it because she's the one that like puts that balloon up there that it ends up eating by accident, right?
Absolutely.
And I loved that bit of poetry. That was like a nice bit of poetry, I thought.
I agree. And like I said, Keke Palmer, for someone that I like so much as an actor and just with the public persona, it takes a lot for you to play a character that makes me hate you. Because I am not a fan of Em early on in this movie. Yeah. I'm really not. Like, she basically...
Well, she's like loud and abrasive and sort of
very obnoxious,
congratulatory, and
so obnoxious.
Yeah, right. And she's self-promotional, is what it is, right? Like she's like promoting herself over the family business, right?
Right. You're here for the family business. Talk, and then you got to keep eyes on things, especially if like, because at the very beginning we see that OJ is with his dad, I guess OS.
Right. OS.
And he gets hit in the eye with a damn nickel. Like, you don't think your brother is still dealing with trauma from that?
For sure. And I think that that's one of the reasons why he's so reserved and quiet.
Right.
Right.
But she's just trying to, like, it's all about her and blah, blah, blah. And I'm sorry, man. Mickey from The Punisher, who plays the director on that commercial, he'd have gotten slid, dude. I'm sorry. He is such a dick.
Everybody on that movie set was a piece of shit, though.
They really were. They like, honestly, it don't make me sad that horse hurt somebody. They had it coming.
She's like, your name's OJ? And he goes, yeah, Otis Jr. Like,
yeah, like, but the one thing that is almost like a consistency in Jordan Peele movies, because all the great directors have a consistency. Like, Quentin Tarantino also always has to have like shots of feet or something.
Right.
Jordan Peele, he continues to have the social commentary of the quote unquote with it white folks that are just as clueless and ignorant and assholish as their blatantly racist counterparts.
Yeah. And I will say that, like, this movie doesn't lean into as much of social commentary as some of the others do.
No, that was the only real bit of it, because
once we get to the farm, we're pretty much isolated from any of that stuff.
Which, honestly, I'm grateful for. Like, honestly, if I could live apart from all that, like, seriously, if I could buy, like...
Honestly, that land was gorgeous. Like,
it really was. Honestly, if I could buy, like, 10 square miles of land to have, like, a commune or something, I would put 20-foot walls up, make sure it was self-sustaining, and I would only have certain people live there with me.
Yeah.
And if they didn't want to live there, fine, more room for me.
And there's something to be said, like, this is another similarity between this film and Signs, is its use of that isolation to dial up the tension, right? Because, like, they had to go so far to get to even that, like, electronics store, right?
It was like 45 minutes to get to a Best Buy.
Right, exactly. and so where Signs uses the cornfield to, like, keep our field of vision limited and, like, show us only what it wants us to see, here it's the illusion of openness because we have all of this sky, but here Peele is using cloud cover to do the same thing, to obstruct our view, right? And show us only what he wants us to see.
Right. And I think that, God, the more and more we talk about it, the more and more it's like, I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
Hoyt Van Hoytema, you got to give a shout out to him for the cinematography.
Yeah. No, the film is beautifully shot.
Yeah. Now, Hoyt has some bangers on his list that include, I'm trying to look at what he's done for, because he's a cinematographer, obviously. He's got The Fighter, Interstellar, Spectre, Dunkirk, and Tenet on his list.
He works with Nolan a good bit.
Yeah. And he did such an amazing job here, and I think that also is a credit to Jordan Peele as well,
It is.
because to be able to communicate how he sees this to the cinematographer, and for the cinematographer to accept that message and to show it to us.
Yeah, this movie, I would say, also Signs as well, but like Us, these are movies that don't look like other movies that are being made right now. Like visually, they have a different visual aesthetic to them. The same can be said for Nolan flicks, right? Like they just look different.
Yeah, and you know what's funny, and I'm taking a look here on the Wikipedia page, and apparently, let me double check before I say what I'm going to say, but it looks like, yeah, Brandon Perea, it's because of him that we may get sequels to this, because it says here in this article, Perea convinced Peele and the Universal executives to change his character's fate in the film's climax from being killed primarily out of interest in a potential sequel, saying, quote, "There's no way the story's over in my head. There's no way. For how heroic everything kind of seemed at the end, I'm like, there's no way they leave the heroes like this. This is just the start of something new."
That's cool.
Yeah. And in an interview with Thrillist, jean jacket designer John O. DeBerry suggests that the creature survived its apparent death at the film's conclusion, saying, quote, "There's a species of jellyfish that's called the immortal jellyfish. I'm not a movie maker, but if it was me, I would say there would be some interesting opportunity to ask whether we've seen the last of Jean Jacket."
I mean, I'm for that. And also, that thing was so beautiful. Like,
I want more Jean Jacket.
So scary, like, because it is imposing, but like those shots of where it was sort of a profile shot where you had OJ on one side of it and M on the other side, and this thing was all ballooned out. I was like, oh man, like those shots were gorgeous.
Right. And I was worried that OJ was going to die.
Right.
And, you know, and then you...
But
so that was cool.
Cool ending, like to have him there on the horse as the dust like blows through. You know?
As the dust settles, there he is. And I'm glad Lucky made it too. I grew to love that horse, even though I'm terrified of horses.
Same.
They're so big and those teeth, man. Like, thank God horses aren't meat eaters. We would be over.
Right.
Like a horse would be the perfect predator. They're fast and they're strong. Like, holy crap. But I think that if they were to do a sequel on this, I seriously think that part of the sequel would be mainstream media and faux news discrediting these people.
Yeah.
And basically, you know, if you want to use the social commentary of it, make it where, because you know how anything where there's black experts or experts of color, they're automatically disregarded.
Right.
You know, because you saw how you had OJ, who is an expert, is completely and utterly disregarded, right?
Yeah.
So I think that would be an amazing sort of, that would be something amazing to take into the sequel, that they saw it, they survived this, but because the only survivors are 3 people of color, they're completely disregarded. But somehow they find the footage from Antlers, and now it's something that's real. Right. You know what I mean? Like, that would be an amazing sort of social commentary, I think.
Yeah.
But I would definitely like to revisit this film in full. And I would definitely think that if there were a sequel, I would probably be willing to go to the theater to watch it. Because this is actually a really, really good, well-made, well-written, well-shot, well-edited film.
I believe that in the theater, it would have been...
a much better experience.
It would have been much more immersive. It's the kind of movie, like, I remember watching Signs. I know I keep going back to this movie, but it's like the closest.
Well, there's so many similarities.
Right. And I watched Signs in the theater, and Signs in the theater was scary. And it still has one of the more intense moments that I remember ever seeing on film. And that's the home video of that alien walking at that kid's birthday party. Like, that shit is so scary.
Oh my God. I'll tell you what freaked me out was seeing the praying mantis on the camera, because seeing something like that up close, that big,
for sure,
that's frightening, man. And have you ever seen time-lapse video of a praying mantis eating?
Oh yeah, it's not okay.
It is not. It is not acceptable. I tell you what,
It is
man.
not acceptable, right?
Praying mantises and pufferfish eating, that is not acceptable, and
No.
that should be outlawed.
For sure.
So, but no, I really think, and I'll tell you what, I have to take some time, maybe either this weekend or at some point. I want to go see the new Avatar in theaters because I didn't see the original.
I agree. Oh, you didn't see it in theaters?
I didn't see the original in theaters because I still sort of have this mindset when I say what I'm about to say. And you'll be like, well, what's changed? When something is the big thing, I won't go and see it because A, everyone is there, and B, I don't want to waste my money on it.
I mean, I don't know. You were there to watch Endgame a bunch of times.
Well, Endgame is different.
Is it?
Because I'm a fan of Marvel. I've been a fan of Marvel before they became movies.
No, I totally understand that, but isn't it also just kind of like the big thing?
Yeah, but I knew I wasn't going to be disappointed.
Right.
Plus, Sharon and I went on our first date.
You believed that you wouldn't be disappointed.
Well, Sharon and I also went to go see Infinity War for our first date. So if I didn't go see Endgame, she would have been kind of pissed off. So, happy wife, happy life.
All good. It's all good. I'm just saying, like, we all sort of.
No, I get what you're saying, but no, you make perfect sense in that. So I do want to go see Avatar, just so that way, because I'm going to go see Ant-Man. So I want to get Avatar out of the way.
Right. Yeah, I want to see Megan, dude. Have you seen this trailer?
I do want to see Megan. Oh my! You know what? There's a lot of flicks that are out, that are out or coming out. I want to see Megan. I want to see Avatar. I want to see Ant-Man. Dude, I want to go see the new Evil Dead. I know I'll be seeing that by myself because Sharon won't do horror.
Right.
I'm getting her closer though. I started with Supernatural, and then we binged Supernatural. Then a few months later, we binged Teen Wolf. And then we've gone right into Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and we're on season 6 now of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Then we're going to go to Angel. And if that works, then we're probably going to watch the Teen Wolf movie that's coming out. And I think if she's okay with that, I'm going to try to ease her into the Evil Dead. But I'm going to start with Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness because they're more horror comedy than straight horror.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I'm going to say, okay, well, if you enjoy these, let's watch
the Ash versus the Evil Dead. Isn't that sort
of... Oh, yeah. Then we'll go to Ash versus Evil Dead after Army of Darkness. Because Ash versus Evil Dead, God, that is so good. I actually picked up the Evil Dead video game for PS5.
That's new, right?
Yeah, that's relatively new. It's basically supposed to be along the same lines of sort of like the Friday the 13th game.
Oh, okay.
But
it's so fun, honestly.
It's fun if you've got a bunch of friends to play it with. Like I said, I'm not going to play with random people.
Yeah. Do I need to buy it, Ryan? Are we gonna do it?
You have a PS5?
Is it not cross-platform? Is it not on?
I have to look. I know I have to see if it's cross-platform. If it is, then
I'm sure I can get it on PC.
I believe it's cross-platform for PC, and I have it on PC. I got it for free on PC.
Okay.
So I do have it on PC.
All right. I know we've gotten way off topic here, but okay, so it's interesting because I think one of the things that makes this movie kind of wild, especially for a Jordan Peele movie, is that it's this sort of experiential thing, right? Like when you're watching it, it feels like you're really watching something, like you're involved in one of those movies where you're given a bunch of threads and they're setting up a bunch of dominoes and you just keep waiting for them all to fall into place neatly, like a lot of these movies do. Like you keep waiting for the crescendo,
right?
And I don't know that I think that maybe where I believe that this movie is incredibly effective in a bunch of ways, but I think that I'm not entirely satisfied when I get to the end of it, and I think maybe that's where we come into this conversation. Like I'm a little disappointed, and I think it maybe is with the ending of it, because everything else is just really good. So I have to assume that there's something that I didn't like about how it all resolved.
I kind of feel like the ending felt rushed.
I feel
it really felt like they tried to just get there.
For how patient we were for the rest of this movie, I think I agree with you.
Yeah, because it really just felt like that ending really felt like it came out of nowhere. It was just like automatically decided, you know what? we got to get on this.
Right.
And you know what I mean? And I think maybe now one thing that I wonder though, is that a fault of the film or is that a fault of us as film watchers?
Mm-hmm.
Because we expect all of this massive buildup to get to the ending.
Right.
Where this is more kind of, you know what, this thing done already feasted on like 40 people. We're next. And our hand is being forced. So I think that for as rushed as this ending feels, wouldn't that also just sort of be logical at this point? I mean, this thing knows that there's
like
more things nearby.
What do we really want it to do? Do we need to see more than these people survived? Like, do we need to see like them?
Does there need to be like this massive military campaign and
and we don't,
you know, what do we need?
I don't think that we need all of that stuff.
I don't think so either. I think honestly, now that I'm really thinking about it,
we needed it to be.
I was just getting ready to say, I think this ending point was the logical ending point. You know? And honestly, I don't think Jean Jacket is dead. I think it probably took in something it didn't like and it hocked it up because it made it sick, and then it's gonna move on.
Right.
Because what happens when a predator finds something that's stronger than it moves on?
Give me like a Peacock original series of Angel chasing this thing across the country.
Yeah, the Haywood siblings are like, yo, man, we got our ranch back. That's all we care about. Hey, Angel's like, look, man, I ain't going back to Best Buy.
Right. He's like, no, I'm chasing that money.
That's right. So, and you know what? I'd probably be on board with that.
I would get sort of on a journey with that kid, like just to see what happens. Like, let's fuck it up, you know.
It could be like Twister, where he has like a whole team with him.
Right.
Meets like the Plotaholics kaiju school.
Honestly, like I'm for a Jordan Peele kaiju universe.
Yeah, instead of like Godzilla, it's like, I don't know.
You know what's like kind of cool about this movie is that it actually never fully embraces the fact that this thing might be extraterrestrial. This thing could be terrestrial, and it's just something we've never experienced before.
That's a good point. And I'll tell you what, if that's the case, guess what you can blame? Global warming.
Well, it's that whole we are just so like predisposed to like if it's that good at hiding, right? I think that like what Jordan Peele is like trying to maybe say here is like there are plenty of, this has always been at the center of his filmmaking, is that there are plenty of things on this planet that are scary, that are unknown, that we don't see, that are just below the surface or hidden in the clouds or whatever, right?
Jean Jacket could be the reason behind the Bermuda Triangle.
Right, exactly.
One of Jean Jacket's cousins, whatever. You know, and because I mean, we hear about these things all the time, these mysterious disappearances. Yeah. Maybe that's why Amelia Earhart's disappearing. She ran afoul Jean Jacket.
And before you say that doesn't happen anymore, there was just a few years ago that airplane went down and we haven't found it yet.
Right. What did it happen to find the one-dimensional barrier and now it's on like Earth 8 or something?
Right. So like there are enough unexplained phenomena. Certainly that stuff could be extraterrestrial, but there's plenty about this planet that we don't know.
This planet has not been fully discovered. I mean, hell, they say the space is
the bottom of the ocean, right?
No, we haven't come close to touching the bottom of the ocean.
It reminded me a lot of like a manta ray, right? Or like you said, a jellyfish, right?
Yeah. You know what? Now that I think about it, I don't want us to get to the bottom of the ocean.
Yo, I don't want to wake up whatever's down there.
Hell no. Let that shit stay sleeping. That's the problem with humans.
We're too curious.
We are way too goddamn curious. Now, honestly, and yeah, I know I'm going to be pulling out some stereotypes, but you know what? It's true. You know why there aren't hardly any black folks in horror movies? Because there would be no damn movie if black folks was in it, because we ain't that damn curious.
Right.
You got these white folks, there's this weird book in this cellar. What is it? Ew, it's covered in skin. I wonder what's in it. Yo, Tyrone and Jackie would have been like, you better leave that goddamn book where it is.
Can we have a moment we've talked about this on the show before, about how much we like it when kids get wrecked. Like when these little space alien dudes like creep up on him in the stable and he just like socks one in the face. Like, yeah, for sure.
I'm all for little kids in movies getting wrecked.
Especially when they're asking for it. Like, bro, like you're trespassing.
Yeah, why are you on my land? Now, granted, my sister did steal your ceramic horse, and
they were also hella creepy, to be fair.
They really were. Like, I think one of my favorite movies of little kids getting wrecked is probably "Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood." When Shawn Wayans is doing he's doing the Cuba Gooding Jr. over dramatic punch swing, and he just keeps like clocking these kids left, right, and center. I'm like, yes. I think the only time a little kid getting wrecked in a movie was heartbreaking was My Girl, because bees just aren't funny.
Right.
Unless they're involved with Nazis. Bees stinging Nazis to death, always hilarious. But bees stinging a child, that's just not kosher. I do have a line.
What do you think of I loved their use of the inflatable tube men.
Wacky waving inflatable arm tube man.
I love that whole bit. He's like, you just didn't get around to it. He's like, I had to rig up a whole valley full of like dead people's car batteries.
Oh man, did I ever tell you Odette is terrified of the wacky waving inflatable arm tube man?
You did not tell me that.
She is terrified of them. I took her for a walk one day, and so where I live at, the area of the city of Pittsburgh where I live in is very confusing to people because I technically live in the Allentown neighborhood. When I say I live in Allentown, people are like, "You live near Philly?" No, the neighborhood is called Allentown, but it's only a couple of blocks because then the next block over, you have the neighborhood of Belle Suver. And then the next block over, you have the neighborhood of Knoxville. And then the next block over, you have the area of Mount Oliver. Now, Mount Oliver is one spot of it. They have a couple of blocks of a business district, right? So I took her for a walk in that area, which has the Ace Hardware that I love shopping at.
Okay.
And one of the stores,
arm waving tube man over there.
Yeah, I was like a block away from there, and this one store had the wacky waving inflatable arm tube man. And as soon as Odette saw it, she was doing that scared dog jump and bark and like, and I had to cross the street, and she was side eyeing the wacky waving inflatable arm tube man the whole way, like, if you come near me, I'm gonna fuck you up.
That's
so
very funny.
I could just imagine if she was in that valley, she would have been absolutely terrified.
Oh, for sure.
But I love seeing those things just make me smile. They really do. I don't know why, because they're the dumbest thing.
And that's the thing is like, that's one of the reasons why I loved that idea is that it's so absurd and so silly.
Right. That it's like, just enough to work.
It's so like, in the moments in his movies when he's able to marry the comedy with the horror, like
it works
every time.
It absolutely works, and he's so good at it.
Because at this point in the film, they've already sort of established that this thing it shuts down electrically powered things, right? And so this is how they're using it they're using these armed men like hooked up to batteries to track where it's at is in the sky, so that they know when it's coming or whatever, because you can see like the line. I think that's really smart.
It's very smart, and you're using something that's relatively, no one's really gonna be alerted to this. They're gonna think, oh, this is just quirky.
What's also, I think, really interesting about the choice to do this is the fact that one of my complaints as I was watching the movie is so much of this is happening in the dark, and this is a horror film, so of course. But I love that they put the climax in the broad daylight. In fact, two of the bigger scenes with this thing are during the day.
Yeah, which is amazing.
I really appreciated that, because a lot of these movies like lean on the darkness to hide like their shitty CGI or whatever.
Yeah. Well, or, probably the budget would only call for one like 2 or 3 really, really big scenes of seeing this thing. And I get it, man, because to create something like that is got to be expensive.
Yeah.
That's one of the few things that I love and dislike about CGI is like, look, we've gone on record before that practical effects are way more appreciated. Yes. But there's certain aspects of CGI that look really, really good. The issue is that CGI is so ungodly expensive that it gets to become, it starts to get to a point, is it worth it? And this film is made on a $68 million budget, and CGI can be very, very expensive. The more realistic it is, the more expensive it's going to be. You can't just throw shit from Spawn on screen nowadays and think that's going to be acceptable.
Right.
So I get using the cover of night, because as humans, nighttime is still terrifying to us because we can't see. The only thing that I think, the one thing that really makes daytime frightening is if it's something that's scary enough that to see it during the day, like zombie movies, I feel like can be effective for night and day, because at night it's like I can't see where they're coming from.
Right.
But during the day, when you see the unending horde and you can actually see the detail, and that's the frightening part.
Right. And in this film, like when that thing unfurls, you don't want that to happen at night. You want to be able to see that.
You've got to be able to see that with your own vision. Because if you see it, because here's the thing, if you see it with the use of night vision, it's just not going to be the same.
Right.
And it's such a beautiful, I love the color scheme that they use. That solid snow white.
I know. And I also love the idea that this terrifying thing is beautiful, as is often the case with nature, right?
Yes.
He didn't feel the need to make this thing, this ugly, horrid looking thing. Like I feel like a lot of other directors would have like had this thing unfurl and it would have been all teeth and claws and but instead it's this beautiful, I mean, like some of the most terrifying things in nature are beautiful.
Yeah. Jellyfish are gorgeous,
yeah,
but they are deadly.
Yeah.
There are certain, like you look at nature, and a lot of the most colorful and beautiful things are the most deadly of things, man. Look at a copperhead snake. Those things, the color scheme is beautiful on it, but you don't want to get bit by it.
For sure.
So, no, I think that and the more and more that we talk about this film, the more and more there is the genius that is Jordan Peele. Yeah. And I think the genius of him especially, and I think his genius continues to grow, because you look at Get Out and the social commentary of the terror was spot on and genius. Us, traditional horror, spot on. This one has to grow on us to make us appreciate it. I think this is one of those few films that's made that it gets better as you discuss it. And as you discuss it, you can appreciate the genius of it. This is one of those films that I guarantee you, all right, it made $168 million or about $170 million at the box office, but I guarantee you that its views on Peacock are going to be worth way more. Like that's it. It's one of those films that really hit its stride when it became part of home media, because then you could take it in, talk about it, and then revisit it.
Right.
And that's why I kind of think that the box office totals sometimes are very, very
they're unfair.
Deceptive. They're very unfair and deceptive.
Yeah, I agree. So let's see. You've already talked about the box office.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. No, it's all good. Currently, the film is sitting at an 83% on the tomato meter and a 69% audience score.
I can understand that. I can understand, because like some people,
it's not going to be a movie for everybody.
This ain't an everybody movie. If you dislike films that you've got to really discuss, then this probably isn't for you.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Because look, we like what we like.
The critical consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is that the film is admirable for its originality and ambition, even when its reach exceeds its grasp. Nope adds Spielbergian spectacle to Jordan Peele's growing arsenal, which is true. Like, it visually is a spectacle. The audience sort of overview says it may not be the movie you think you're going to get, or even the one you want, but either way, Nope leaves a strong impression as a true Jordan Peele original, and that's true. I mean, there's a reason why this guy got saddled to head up the Twilight Zone reboot, and it's good. The Twilight Zone reboot is good.
That's on Paramount Plus.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna start watching. I'm gonna start watching some of that. Matter of fact, I've got to rewatch Last of Us, the first episode. The Tan Talks for the new year. We've decided to do a shift. We are going to be
Last of Us.
We're going to be discussing The Last of Us because it's new, it's topical, and
I like that.
Yeah, and episode 1 of Last of Us dropped on Sunday, and myself and Melinda Demecki are going to be talking that. She's a Walking Dead super fan, and so I feel like talking Last of Us will be right down her alley.
Absolutely.
So, so I think that after I rewatch Last of Us, I'm going to start watching some of the Twilight Zone because I really do want to get into some of the classic shows and some of the reimaginings. Like I've started rewatching the old Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I want to start watching the old Twilight Zone, and I'm going to watch some of the new Twilight Zone.
The new Twilight Zone is good. I haven't watched all of it, but what I've seen of it is good. I mean, he's good. I mean,
he really is. And I think that over the next decade to 2 decades, when we talk about great filmmakers, like we talk about Spielberg, Zemeckis, we are going to be talking about Peele.
I think so.
And I'm really grateful for that because you look at Antoine Fuqua, Mario Van Peebles, Rusty Cundiff, Robert Townsend, great black filmmakers, absolutely great black filmmakers, but their stuff is also in a lot of ways niche. Antoine Fuqua is more mainstream than some of the others.
Yeah.
But still relatively niche. Jordan Peele he's done a great job at not just trying to have his stuff be mainstream.
Yeah.
Because you notice his films are still involved in the black community, but are enjoyable for everyone as well. He's found a way to walk that line.
Yeah.
And I think that he is going to be the blueprint for future black filmmakers.
I would agree with that. I think he's great. I think that, when you talk about black cinema and black directors, I keep waiting for Donald Glover to take the leap into cinema.
I don't think he
as a director because
he's got a great vision.
He's got great vision. I think once he wraps Atlanta, we might see that in his next era, because I think that he sees the world as in a
different way,
right?
Yeah, and he never seems to want to do 2 things at once. He wants to focus on one,
and he never wants to do one thing for too long. I mean, I read this great interview with him where he says that he's a big believer in endings. And that whenever he starts doing something, he wants to do it like to subvert expectation. He wants it to feel like punk rock, right?
Yeah.
And he says when it stops feeling like punk rock, then I want to do something else.
Whenever it becomes mainstream, it's time to end it. Yeah. Sort of like, kind of how I guess I want to say Kurt Cobain, for him, as soon as Nirvana became mainstream, that's when he became even more miserable.
Yeah. And I think that Donald Glover's found a way to cope with that by leaping to another project, right?
Because he's also good at so many things.
I think he's very good at everything, honestly. Like, this dude is hella talented.
Can you imagine if Donald Glover and Jordan Peele teamed up for something? Now, because now Donald Glover is not going to be in the Community film, is he?
I don't know. TBD, I think.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up as a cameo.
I think the reason why they're waiting so long to get started is to give him time to finish what he's doing so he can be involved.
Yeah, it would not surprise me if he showed up at the very end, like having finished off his like great sailing around the world to get that inheritance,
Shit, I would. You know what though? Me and Sharon, I introduced Sharon to Community and we were watching it and I realized I couldn't watch the last season.
No?
I couldn't. I don't like the last season. I just can't do it. It's just not. Like, we went from that to Glow.
Oh yeah.
Just so we could have our Allison Brie.
I love Glow though. And
Glow was so good.
Show that like ended too soon.
I agree.
Loved Glow. God damn it! Why did they have to cancel that show?
Because I think Netflix is trying to do things the Childish Gambino way. As soon
Right.
as it starts to become mainstream, they kill it.
Fucking out of here.
I know, right? So next week we're doing. I can't remember.
Next week we will
Next
be doing the Unbearable Weight of Limitless Talent, the Nick Cage movie.
Gotcha. And then after that,
we'll be doing Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Now, here's something funny, because I have not seen either two of these movies, but Everything Everywhere All at Once was done by was sent by a channel that honestly I don't even like anymore.
Yeah.
And then CinemaSins, yeah. I'm not as big of a fan of CinemaSins anymore. I like the Birdman's Everything Wrong with CinemaSins because I love how he points out.
CinemaSins has become like, let's hate everything that's popular because it's clickbaity.
Right. And I love how the Birdman calls them out in his videos. So I didn't watch the CinemaSins sin of Everything Everywhere All at Once. I started the Birdman's Everything Wrong with CinemaSins of it, but I don't want to finish it. I'm only like a quarter of the way in, and I decided I don't want to watch it.
Right.
Because I want to watch the movie for myself.
Yeah, I want to go into it clean. And I'm excited because I've heard that it's everything that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness wanted to be.
Supposed to be. Yeah.
Right. So I'm excited to watch that. Let's get Bartender Smiley in here and do.
Yeah, before we get too into some of this stuff.
Yeah.
The Plotaholics rating system for the movies is a pretty simple system. Basically, they rate movies based on how many shots it takes to get through them. So if you got a good movie and you get through it all the way sober, then it takes 0 shots to get through the movie. And then if you got a really bad movie, then it could take up to 5 shots to get through the whole thing. I think you can try to figure out the middle part yourself. So what can I get you?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead.
I am going to give this a 1-shot rating. That is -2 from what I was coming in to give this after our discussion. I think that the tone, the setting, the characters, and the subversion of expectation do an amazing job of giving us if this movie doesn't give us what we want, but it gives us what we need. And that is a compelling story with interesting characters, interesting dialogue, and a terrifying setting.
Yes, I agree. That's exactly almost word for word what I would say. I was going to go with a 1-shot as well. I was settling in on a 2 early on, because I did think coming in that it was like a largely effective movie that just didn't quite stick the landing. But the more we've talked about it, the more I think that it completely stuck the landing. I think maybe
actually it landed better than expected.
I think maybe if I were to offer any critique, it would be if you're going to rush the ending the way that it is. We both sort of said that maybe it felt a little rushed, that we didn't get to like live in it for very long. Maybe cut back in other places and let's live in that final moment for a little bit longer.
I think so.
And even at a 2:10 runtime, it didn't feel like that. We could have lived in it. We could have just had the same movie and just had like 5 more minutes at the end. And I think it would.
I think so. I think so. I think the one part of this film that really sort of made me cringe was when Angel was trapped in the barbed wire, which I thought was a really good shift of tone as well. This movie does a great job at changing its tones, but its tonal change is so well done that it doesn't feel like an aggressive tonal shift.
Well, and I like little things, little callbacks, and like he does such a nice job of setting things up and then having them pay off later. Like even like whenever OJ to M through the window, like did the eye thing to her, and then at the very end it came back, like the jean jacket thing. Like there's a lot of really great callbacks in this. It's like what George Lucas says, right? Like it has to rhyme. And and Jordan Peele has a really good sense of that in all of his movies, and it's really strong here.
Absolutely.
So you know what? At the top, I said I was disappointed, but by now I feel like I've talked myself into really enjoying it. So I'm going to agree with you. A 1-shot for me.
Yeah, I wanted to be so disappointed in this. I wanted to say maybe Jordan Peele isn't as good as we thought he was, but no, Jordan Peele is actually better than we thought.
Well, see, and I think that by and large, the Shyamalan catalog also benefits from these kinds of conversations.
I think so too. I seriously think that we should probably do a block of Shyamalan movies.
A block of unpopular ones, but maybe not The Happening, because I do believe that one is as bad as everybody thinks it is.
The Happening is just terrible.
That one's not good, but there are plenty of others that get shit on that I think have merit.
I think Glass, I haven't watched Glass, but I want to watch that trilogy.
Okay.
To really get that feeling, because Unbreakable
is a flawless movie.
It truly is. Like, if you want to do a superhero film that's not as boring as Watchmen, but isn't the MCU, that is what you fucking do.
Yeah.
Hell, if we got a Luke Cage film done by Jordan Peele in the style of Unbreakable,
yeah,
box office records are shattered.
No, that's a beautiful film. A lot of his movies are beautiful. And that's the other thing, right? That's why I kept going back to him while I was watching this, is that an M. Night Shyamalan film is an exercise in beauty, even if it's a horror film.
And even if the dialogue doesn't get you, even if the settings don't get you the beautiful look.
Writing dialogue. Like
he really is.
I would float the four films I would float for like a Shyamalan case study. Mm-hmm. Would be The Village, Lady in the Water,
okay,
because those two get shit on a lot. I would also add to that probably Signs, because it's one that people have sort of turned on
because stretch. I can't blame them too much, just because if the one thing that kills you is 70% of what the planet is made up of.
Sure. But I would argue, and this is the argument that I make on behalf of him every time.
Okay.
And that is, if you get hung up on like that little bit, like the balloon thing and blowing up the jellyfish, right? Like that's so not the point. Like
true.
Like the point of the film, well, we can talk about Signs whenever we get around to it, but I would say The Village and Lady in the Water is a good place to start.
I think so,
because those two get shit on a lot, and I think that The Village, I think both of them are wildly misunderstood. So.
I think that the great filmmakers are truly misunderstood, and I mean, because you even look at Ed Wood, and a lot of his stuff is so bad it's good. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot more that he's trying to say in those films, and people only now, long after his death, are able to get it. Now, you'll bowl. No, you're just trash. Box me if you want. You'll lose.
Yeah.
But I think that when you look at a Shyamalan or movies like this by Jordan Peele, or any of even some indie filmmakers, you're just not going to get the brilliance of it at the time. And you look at some people that we revere now. In their time, they were not revered.
Yeah.
And I think that M. Night Shyamalan is an amazing filmmaker.
I mean, I honestly feel like Lady in the Water is one of my favorites by him, and people hate that movie, but I think it's beautiful.
All right. You know what? I think that at some point we definitely have to do a Shyamalan block, but I definitely also want to do his Unbreakable trilogy as well.
I mean, are we on the cusp of a summer of Shyamalan?
We might have to be. But if we do that, I think here's the thing though. Films that are a trilogy, if we're going to go by story, then we're going to have to do like the first week will have to be the Unbreakable trilogy. So watch all three movies and talk about them in one episode.
Right. Or we just spend the first 3 weeks talking about them.
Yeah. And we just do a whole summer of Shyamalan. So all summer is just like, all Shyamalan all the time, all summer.
Except for one break for Hamilton.
Yeah, exactly. Because Hamilton.
Right, exactly. Well, anyway, that's it for this week. We'll be back next week with some Nicolas Cage action, which I'm pumped for.
I'm excited for it as well. The fact that you've been talking about this movie so much has me really wanting to watch it.
You're going to enjoy yourself for sure. But with that, make sure you rate, review, subscribe. I've got to go to work. So we'll talk to y'all.
Yeah, same here. Take care, guys.
Take a trip with us to Nilbog. Just promise not to drink the goo. If you get sucked into the Matrix, we will send a phone for you.
Do you believe in fate?
But every movie has a plot hole, and every hole gets filled somehow. Whiskey, wine, or blue milk. Just don't cut me off right now. We're the Plotaholics, a breakfast club of two. We're the Plotaholics, ripping plots apart for you.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.